here, and welcome to my August wrap-up. Before we get started, as always, I'd like to give a star rating system disclaimer. I tend to be a little harsher with my ratings, so I want to give some context on what my ratings mean. 1 star means I did not like it, 2 stars means that it was okay, 3 stars means I liked it, 4 stars means I really liked it, 5 stars means it was amazing. Before we dive into the books, let's look at some statistics. I read 7 books and DNF'd 3, with a total of 2,259 pages read. My average rating was 2.5 stars. My most read genre was romance, and I read the most physically. Now let's move on to the books. First book I read this month was Youth Juice by E.K. Safu, from Sophia Banion's first day on the storytelling team at Hebe, a luxury skincare wellness company based in New York's trendy Soho neighborhood, named after the Greek goddess of youth. It's clear something is deeply amiss. But Sophia, pushing 30, has plenty of skeletons in her closet next to the designer knockoffs and doesn't care. Though she leads an outwardly charmed life, she aches for a deeper meaning to her flat existence and a cure for her brutal nail-biting habit. She finds it all and more at Hebe, and with Tree Whitestone, Hebe's charismatic founder and CEO, soon Sophia is addicted to her Hebe lifestyle, especially Youth Juice, the fatty, soothing moisturizer Tree has asked Sophia to test. But when cracks in Hebe's infrastructure start to worsen, and Sophia learns the gruesome secret ingredient at the heart of Youth Juice, she has to decide how far she's willing to go to stay beautiful forever. What can I say? It's hard to look away from a car wreck. This was a wild ride from the get-go. What seemed like an interesting premise, but pulled off more as a girl who isn't like other girls, who possibly got bullied in high school because she wasn't popular, and also hates makeup and girly things, writes a book about women obsessed with the beauty industry. If I didn't know anything about the author, I'd be sure a man wrote this. With how some of the female characters were described and just how almost stereotypical the depictions of women were in this, I gave this a 1 star. All Fired Up by M.K. England. Nicole Wells left Seattle 2 years ago for graduate school to study fire dynamics and to get away from her best friend and unrequited love, Skylar Clark. Now she's back home with a new job, ready to hit reset on her life and reconnect with her friends, and maybe finally get together with Skylar. Nick's plans go up in flames when Skylar announces she's moving to Fiji for a new business venture, in what will likely be another catastrophe for the ambitious but seldom successful BFF. That, and there's a newcomer to Nick's group of friends, Kira McKinney, a firefighter Nicole can't keep her eyes off. Worried about their friend making a huge mistake, Nicole and Kira work together to stop Skylar from leaving. When talking to her doesn't work, there's only one option left: shenanigans. But as all their efforts go up in smoke, one thing becomes wildly clear. Sparks are starting to fly between Nick and Kira. This was such a cute read. I liked both the characters a lot. I felt that both Nick and Kira were fully fleshed out and had unique traits as well as problems they were working through. I had to suspend my disbelief just a bit on how quickly they became such close friends, but that does occasionally happen where you just click. The plot overall was fun and engaging. Skylar randomly going off to Fiji for secret reasons felt enough to carry the story through. The only issues I had was that the rest of the friend group didn't feel as fleshed out. Almost a bit too confusing as to why they were there, other than being able to say there was a large friend group. I also wish there was one more spicy scene written out fully towards the end, and that the last chapter definitely didn't need to happen. I really disliked the choice here, especially with the time frame, and it should have just been an epilogue many years later. I gave this a 3.5 star. Live, Laugh, Lurk by Elsie Winters. Nothing could be worse than having to take a temporary job in a squeaky old college town, until I discover I'm living downstairs from a terrifying Mothman. The only thing I want is to get back to my old life as soon as possible. But then I realized that the most terrifying thing about the Mothman is his obsession with well-made lamps. And I notice how good his backside looks during our shared yoga class. Slowly, he wraps himself around my heart like one of his chunky, hand-knitted blankets. Will I be able to shake off the sparkly moth dust when it's time to go home? Alistair the Mothman carried this book. The rest was questionable, and the spicy scene didn't even match the characters. It seemed like the author wrote this, stopped after the spicy scene, and decided to shelf it, only to go back and slap 2 last chapters and an epilogue and call it good. I gave this a 1.5 star. Glow in the Fucking Dark by Tara Schuster. For the past decade, Tara Schuster worked like hell to repair the emotional wounds inflicted during what she refers to as her neglected mess wreck disaster of a childhood. She brought radical self-care, healing rituals, and self-love into her life, and on most days, she was a grateful, happy, and stable adult. She even wrote a book about it, but then she lost her job, the one she had staked her entire adult identity. Cue an out-of-body panic attack, doom spiral, and deep depression that brought her harshest childhood traumas to the surface. Isolated at home during a global pandemic, she experienced piercing loneliness and a lack of purpose like she had never known. Finally, after a particularly dangerous dissociative episode while driving down the highway, she realized that enough was enough. She needed to slow down and pull over, to stop the relentless hustling that had gotten her this far, and to recover her innermost self. I really thought her first book, Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies, had a lot of helpful first steps into exploring how to start your self-care journey. But this one really missed the mark. It's almost like the author started this journey and unfortunately the pendulum swung to the extreme. Part 1 was too preachy. Part 2 was mostly similar to the first book. Part 3 had 1 or 2 decent chapters. Many times this book seemed victim-blamey, sprinkled with a what if I never had this trauma? I should be thankful for my trauma because if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am now. Because I like who I've grown into. And very dismissive of pretty important things that really I think is something she hasn't worked through yet, and we'll get another updated book based on what she's learned. Overall, I recommend the first book and maybe take a quick scan of part 2 of this book to further some areas. I gave this a 1.5 star. And They Were Roommates by Paige Powers. On his first day at Valentine Academy for Boys, Charlie's carefully crafted plan to hide his identity as the school's only trans student is set in motion, only to be immediately destroyed. Charlie has been assigned the worst roommate in this world, possibly the universe, Jasper Grimes, the boy who broke Charlie's heart the year before he transitioned. Except Jasper doesn't recognize Charlie. Who knows how long until Jasper realizes the truth. Charlie has one shot at freedom in a dorm room all to himself, but only if he helps Jasper write love letters on behalf of their fellow students first. No problem. Charlie can help Jasper with some silly letters. Long nights spent discussing deep romantic feelings with Jasper? Surely no unintended consequences will arise. I don't usually read YA these days, but I was pleasantly surprised with this one. It was a great coming into yourself story. All the characters felt fleshed out, and the relationship between Charlie and Jasper was so cute. I gave this a 2.5 star. The Unworthy by Augustina Bazterrica. From her cell in a mysterious convent, a woman writes the story of her life in whatever she can find. Discarded ink, dirt, and even her own blood. A lower member of the Sacred Sisterhood. Deemed an unworthy, she dreams of ascending to the ranks of the enlightened at the center of the convent, and of pleasing the foreboding superior sister. Outside, the world is plagued by catastrophe. Cities are submerged underwater. Electricity and the internet are non-existent, and bands of survivors fight and forage in a cruel, barren landscape. Inside, the narrator is controlled, punished, but safe. But when a stranger makes her way past the convent walls, joining the ranks of the unworthy, she forces the narrator to consider her long-buried past and what she may be overlooking about the enlightened. As the two women grow closer, the narrator is increasingly haunted by questions about her own past, the environmental feature in her present life inside the convent. How did she get to the Sacred Sisterhood? Why can't she remember her life before, and what really happens when a woman is chosen as one of the enlightened? I feel like the first 80-ish pages was really hard to get into. There was some intrigue with the plot, but it had a bit slower pace than I was expecting. It did finally pick up for me at the 100-ish page mark halfway through the book, but it wasn't enough to really drive the why of the plot. It was a quick read though, and I did overall enjoy the writing. It was just the delivery that missed for me. I gave this a 2.5 star. And finally, The Murmur of Bees by Sofia Segovia. From the day that old Nana Reja found a baby abandoned under a bridge, the life of a small Mexican town forever changed. Disfigured and covered in a blanket of bees, little Sininopio is for some locals the stuff of superstition, a child kissed by the devil. But he is welcomed by landowners Francisco and Beatriz Morales, who adopt him and care for him as if he were their own. As he grows up, Simonopio becomes a cause for wonder to the Morales family, because when the uncannily gifted child closes his eyes, he can see what no one else can. Visions of all that's yet to come, both beautiful and dangerous. Followed by his protective swarm of bees, and living to deliver his adoptive family from threats, both human and those of nature, Simonopio's purpose in Linares will, in time, be divined. Set against the backdrop of the Mexican Revolution and the devastating influenza of 1918, The Murmur of Bees captures both the fate of a country in flux and the destiny of one family that has put their love, faith, and future in the unbelievable. This book, just by its size, was so intimidating, and now I have added it to my favorite shelf. I can't explain how beautiful, immersive, intense, and heartbreaking this book is. From the characters to the plot to the descriptions, every word was so well thought out, and you could feel the compassion slowly build as you read more and more about this family. I gave this a 5 stars. In addition to those books, here are the 3 I DNF: Crow Planet, Heated Rivalry, and Recoil. And that's it for my August wrap-up. As always, this is Quinn, signing out.